And we're going to do part 2 of our SEC coaches hot seat, pressure cooker, pressure list. I don't know, whatever we're doing in this pressure check. We finish it out alphabetically, and we start at the University of Missouri and Coach Eli Drinkwitz, Coach Drink, who at one point or another, I think admitted he listened to this podcast, but I don't know that he still does. I think he was trashing us for something, which we deserved. I believe it was
sounds
probably
right. Yeah, sounds
right.
right.
I think we believed it was pretty funny. He's a funny guy. Anyway, he's in his going into his 6th year at Missouri, and banged out an 11-2 and a 10-3 the last 2 years. Pat, you went to the University of Missouri. How's the fans? The pressure check, just to reiterate, doesn't mean like this is a scale whether you're going to get fired. It's just what kind of pressure are you to have a really good season next year? It could be, let's say you have a loaded roster and everyone wants to, like, you really need to make like a Final Four, but doesn't mean like if you don't, you're going to get fired. Something like that, right? The pressure could be Ryan Day's a 10 every year. Let's put it that way. Is he going to get fired? Yeah. No, but I would say he has a 10 next year because he's got to beat Michigan. So that's it. It's not a firing scale. It's just whatever we're making up because it's February. Pat.
Yeah. It's at most a 2. He's Drink is very safe, largely popular. As you said, back-to-back double-digit win seasons, which I believe has only happened 2 other times in school history, both by Gary Pinkel, who was the best coach Missouri has ever had, and got Missouri off to a good start in the SEC. So he's in excellent company. There are a few people, if you want to get high maintenance, who are like, well, yeah, we had Luther Burden and he's going to be a first-round pick. We had these guys. He's recruited well. Can we, break through and make the playoff? Let's be realistic here. For Missouri to win 10, 11 games, to have a winning record in the SEC, that's good stuff. And I think that while it's great to aspire for more, to be disappointed if you don't get more would be unrealistic. So Drinkwitz has filled the stadium. He's largely played an entertaining style. They have, again, won a lot of games. The one thing that's interesting, he hadn't really gotten just an absolute baller quarterback. And for a guy that's an offensive guy and has recruited extremely well, that's kind of been a little bit of a, I guess, curiosity that they just haven't had that real like elite level quarterback. But whatever it is, 5 years in, 6 years in, he's in perfectly good popular standing at Missouri.
Yeah, as Pat said, very rarely, right? You have a Missouri back-to-back double-digit win seasons, 21 wins in the last 2 years. They so I would say no more than a 3 or so. They were kind of a leader in taking advantage of some of the things with NIL in the state laws nationally, and they were really their method has been replicated by several schools, and basically there's a lot more to it, but I'll boil it down real quickly. They changed their state law in order to allow their foundation and their fundraising arm of the university and the athletic department to subsidize their collective, at least a portion of it, basically. And a lot of other schools are doing that now. And there's also another part of that, which is the part of the state law gives them an advantage with in-state players on distributing NIL immediately while they're in high school. So it's like what they did is honestly pretty remarkable. I mean, there's certainly competitors of Missouri that would say this is the only reason they're there is because they've done what they've done. But now everybody's replicating it, and there's a reason. You got to have good players. And Eli in Missouri's administration, before Laird Veach took over as AD, who's Desiree Reed Francois is now at Arizona, and I think her and Eli and some state lawmakers there led the push, and Eli was right at the forefront of that. I mean, he was down at the Capitol Jefferson City quite a bit, I think, over that time to get this stuff going, and it's worked out for him. It's been really impressive.
Yeah, I mean, he's been great for Missouri. A funny guy, fun guy, team's fun, program's moving. They're getting in-state kids. They've tried to take advantage of the advantages that they could to overcome some of the advantages they don't have, which is a ton of in-state talent. Great job. So the program's booming, I think. I don't see it slowing down. I think they can maintain this. I'm going to give them a little higher. I'm going to give them what would you say? I'll give them a 4. How about that? And this is why. Because he needs to have a big season because of this schedule. Number one, Kansas is showing up. They haven't played them. The ancient rivalry. What is that? They've been playing since the Civil War or
Civil
something.
War, right?
Yeah,
Okay.
since Quantrill's Raiders burned Lawrence.
Yeah.
Yes. That's like, Ohio State and Michigan battling over Toledo. This was Missouri and Kansas.
Yeah. There's bloodshed. There's torching.
Yeah.
So Kansas is coming. Better win that. And then here's the other thing. This schedule's great. If you got to draw up an SEC schedule, this is about it. South Carolina visits, Alabama visits, and then you're at Auburn, at Vanderbilt, Texas A&M visits, Mississippi State visits, and then you're at Oklahoma, at Arkansas. Obviously, we expect a little more out of Oklahoma and Auburn this year. Hard to tell, but your hardest games are at home as you look at it right now. And there's no Georgia, there's no Texas on this. There's no a lot. So this is a season that they should be staring up at 10 victories, and one of them should be Kansas.
Yeah. No, that's a good point. The opportunity is there.
But other than that, great job. Great job, Drink. See? And I got to say, we all agreed. And Pat started this on the last episode just giving everyone a 10. They were all, 1 is the lowest, 10 is the highest. Everyone was about to get fired. And he wasn't really wrong. So the fact that we're being nice is amazing.
And I'm being the nicest one so far.
We've
reversed roles here.
Must have had a nice weekend. Nice weekend, yeah. Oklahoma, Brent Venables. Pat, maybe not a 10.
Oh no, this is a 10. I'm back. Now I'm
or
back.
Maybe a 10. I'm sorry.
Yeah, hot seat, Pat. I'm back. This is a 10 without question. It's not been good so far for Venables. 3 years. First year terrible. Second year better. Third year terrible. Basically, and the entry into the SEC was rough. He badly mismanaged his quarterback situation. Ended up having to fire his offensive coordinator during the season last year. They were just a bundle of mistakes and critical turnovers and penalties and finding ways to lose games. And as we know in college football, it really doesn't help you when your rival is kicking ass, which Texas was at the same time. And Texas killed Oklahoma in Dallas last year. So combining underachieving with your rival hitting high levels, that's a bad recipe there. And I think there was questions from the beginning. Venables, one of the great defensive coordinators of all time. Could he transition to being a head coach? And those questions to me still haven't been answered adequately 3 years in. So I think this is absolutely a year where they not just get better, but probably a lot better, or Oklahoma's getting a new coach.
Yeah, I would agree. I think this might be my first 10, but I think it's a 10. It feels like it's a hot cooking time there. 2 6 and 7s in his first three years. I don't exactly know why, and we've talked about this on the show before, why they gave him a contract extension and all that last year that increased the buyout, I believe, or made the buyout harder, but that was like in the middle of the summer. Very weird, but here we are. So this is a 9 at best and probably a 10. Gotta win. And like Pat said, it really makes it more difficult when the other guy is doing well, and we're seeing that. We're seeing that right now. They lost. They beat Texas once, I guess, when he was there. Since he's been there,
with Dylan Gabriel.
That's
really
right.
Great game. Yep.
That's right. That's right. So they beat him once, but never enough there. So
Its only benefit is that Lincoln Riley's not doing well at USC.
Yeah, true.
mhm.
As my Sooner, or one of our my Sooner friend, among other Sooner friends I have, the one that complains a lot. He only takes joy in that Lincoln Riley stinks. That's all it last year became. He would be on I don't know if Lincoln Riley would be on a 10, but yeah, no, look, they've poured a bunch of money in. I think the money is there for NIL this year. The schedules, though, is tough, including Michigan showing up will be interesting. We don't really know what we're going to get out of Michigan this year, but that would be a real swing game. But they get Texas, obviously neutral site. They have to go to Tennessee and Alabama. Ole Miss, they got to go South Carolina, Tennessee, and Alabama. And then they got Ole Miss and LSU and Missouri, Auburn. This is a tough schedule. This is they're going to have to be really good to navigate this and show some potential. Contract extension made no sense. It was, I believe the reasoning was like, well, now that you're an SEC coach, because we moved conferences, you need to be paid like an SEC coach, which doesn't really make sense. I knew a coach once who got the average salary of the coaches in his league. So if
Was
everybody
he an
else
average coach, was he an above average coach?
Well, no.
No.
As the season, so as everybody else got a raise, he got a raise, and I'm like, well, they're getting raises because they're beating you.
Yeah.
Part of the you're helping them out, right? Like, so didn't really make a lot of sense to me, but that's what we got. So yeah, no, huge year in Oklahoma. They're going to be a huge focus for us all year,
for vultures like us. Yeah.
Well, I mean, look at that schedule. I mean, again, that Michigan game is a referendum, and then Auburn, then Texas, and then, like, there's going to be a lot of these. Like, okay, what's up? That's just like a pressure season, man. So absolutely
for Venables and Napier, they're in must-win seasons against really hard schedules.
Right. Ole Miss, Lane Kiffin is going into his 6th year. 11-2 in 2023, 10-3 in 2024. Certainly makes a lot of noise. Was right on the edge of the playoffs last year. Pat, what's the pressure ranking on Lane Kiffin in Oxford?
So I have to point.
I don't know where you're going with this.
Well, I have to point out that your alphabet is Ole Miss friendly, because you're going with Ole Miss instead of Mississippi, in which case they would have been on the last pod, and we would have started this one with Mississippi State. But so yeah, the Mississippi fans get mad at me when I call them Mississippi, which I believe the name of the school is the University of Mississippi.
It's a good point. I was just taking the list off of I looked up list of SEC coaches.
This used to be a serious issue within the SEC, and still may be, when the SEC, when it would do things, it would rely on alphabetical like we're doing. And the question was always, where does Ole Miss fall, behind Mississippi State or in front of Mississippi State? And it used to be a really big issue with some folks in Starkville. Let the conference office hear it.
Correct me if I'm wrong, Ross, but didn't Jackie Sherrill only refer to them as Mississippi?
Yes.
Because it made them mad? Yeah.
Yeah, and then Dan, Mullen never referred to them by name, of course.
Yeah, right.
He did the old Ohio State, the team up north.
Yeah. Anyway, back to the question at hand. I don't know what to give Lane Kiffin. I'm gonna say 7. How about that? Because here's the thing. Like, he wins and he's doing great. But, they've been wanting a little bit more and a little bit more. And now they're losing Jaxson Dart. The fans are still going to be expecting more from the Portal King. He goes out and gets these players. It's a job where, in my mind, Mississippi is like Missouri to a degree. Like, if you're winning 10 games, you're doing great. And don't even bother being unhappy. But Kiffin has kind of always given that expectation and that tease that now we're breaking through. We're joining Alabama. We're joining Georgia at the top. Here we come. And they haven't quite gotten there. And that loss to Kentucky last year was ruinous in terms of their playoff chances. And then I think that everybody's suspicious that he's always looking for another job. And there's been probably reason to suspect that. So I think you combine those things. I think they're happy with Lane, but they're also a little bit like, I don't know about Lane.
I'll give it a 5. Pretty high, a little higher than what you might think when a Ole Miss team wins 21 games in 2 years. But this past season, they invested a lot in that roster, right? Around $13 million is what Walker Jones of the NIL collective there has told me that they invested in that roster. That's a lot of money, and everything was kind of built for this past season to make the run, make the championship run, and they lost to Kentucky and they lost to Florida. They lost the game at LSU. They should have won and had the lead for a long time. So I think there's a lot more people left deflated in Oxford than normal on a year of going 10-3. So I think there's something more. And when you expand the playoff, and as we'll probably get to later, they're going to probably expand the playoff again to include 2 more teams. So you look at where Ole Miss, the expectations of Ole Miss in making that, and I think they're there, and they haven't done that yet. So they still aspire, I think, to get to that level. And I believe Ole Miss is the only team in the old SEC West that's never made the SEC championship game still either. So there's always that out there they need to aspire to. And this past season was just, despite going 10-3, right, was just really deflating for some people there.
So I use their nickname, not their government name. I don't know. So they get angry if you call them Mississippi? I've never heard that.
There are people that prefer to be, we want to be called Ole Miss.
Ole Miss,
which
right.
is, then there's Mike Bianchi, the columnist in Orlando, that used to call him Ole Miserable. People, they didn't like that very much.
I'm sure they didn't.
Well, this is their first back-to-back 10-win season since forever.
Like Johnny
60
Bott.
and 59. 1959, 1960.
Houston that had the back-to-back Cotton Bowl years, but I guess they didn't win 10 games, huh?
No,
they must have won like
9
9-3,
9-4 both years. With the Cotton Bowl victory.
Yeah, right.
And in the league, they went 4-4 and 5-3 those 2 years. Yeah, this is their first back-to-back 10 wins since when it was all white. Ole Miss was a term that came up out of the 1897 yearbook. And there's all sorts of, I don't know. This is what they want to call themselves. Interesting. I don't know what. Now I'm nervous. Do I call them Ole Miss or Mississippi? I'll say this. It's a 7 every year minimum with Lane Kiffin because it's what he wants.
Yeah, there you go.
If nothing else, he has made Mississippi matter to the point where if they go, let's say they lose again to Kentucky this year, which I would not advise. If they just beaten Kentucky, they're in the playoff. Kentucky beat no one else in the SEC. All the complaining, but they might storm the field. And they'll be taunting him. He has put a spotlight on the program. If nothing else, Ole Miss matters a great deal because Lane Kiffin makes it matter. He's the one, feels like he got slighted for the playoff. He's complaining the loudest. Feels like he got cheated by the refs. He's complaining the loudest. Somebody else stumbles in the league. He's the one trolling him. He thinks Indiana, whatever, some non-SEC team isn't good enough in the playoffs. He's hammering on them. He's spending money. He calls himself the portal king. He says everything. So it's at least a 7 all the time. Tough schedule. He's not going to get fired. I mean, gosh, he's the best thing they got. And they should hope he never leaves. Should hope every other school looks at him and says he's not worth all the noise. But I don't think you could ever have under a 7 with Lane Kiffin, even though he's not going to get fired. He wants the pressure. There's never going to be like, oh, how'd the Rebels do this year? I don't remember. Every game's going to be a big thing. All right, South Carolina, Shane Beamer a year ago, he was on the hot seat. We would have given him a high number. He responded. How low is how's it gotten for him now, Pat?
Oh boy. I'm going to say it's a 5. You know what? I think he's at a tough place and the fortunes ebb and flow. And there's like, oh, we're disappointed the next year. Oh, we're thrilled. And you beat Clemson and you win a lot of games. That buys you a lot of renewed job security after going into last year on the hot seat. Lenora Sellers looks like a rising star at quarterback. I think they have some real optimism that they're right there on the verge. And I mean, they were close to making the playoff last year. So I think it's a 5 because they're happy with where they were last year and where they're going into this year. But at the same time, yeah, that's the expectations that keep it from being a 2 or 3. It's like, okay, let's deliver. So I'm putting them right in the middle.
Yeah, I'll say a 6. I think that what he's done has been pretty remarkable. I think he's exceeded a lot of people's expectations when he was hired as a assistant. Really not a coordinator. With no head coaching experience. Obviously, everybody knew his dad and all that, what he did at Virginia Tech. But I think there was a lot of skepticism. And man, I mean, he's just he's done an incredible job there. An 8-win season, a 9-win season. He's 15-17 in a very difficult league. But he's 2-2 against Clemson. He's won both of those games that he's won were at Clemson, including this past year where they beat the ACC champions, So that was pretty incredible. And it's just overall pretty incredible what he's done the last few years. As Pat mentioned, Sellers' return in keeping him, retaining him, I think probably showed a lot of what resource-wise South Carolina is dealing with, which is good. It's definitely a good sign. And they do have a new athletic director, right, Jeremiah Donati, and that's always an interesting time. ADs often like to hire their own football coaches, but that's something just to factor into to kind of all this. But yeah, I'd say a 6. I think it seems to have them in the right direction. They seem to be, pretty invested as well.
Yeah, I'd something like that, 5, 6. Done a great job. I mean, look, when he got hired, there was understandable discussion of did he just get the job because his dad and his last name, but he's accounted very well for himself on that. I don't think you can come up with that anymore. Man, that LSU loss early where they kind of fell apart. Alabama, they had a crack late. Not sure they weren't the best of the Alabama, Ole Miss, South Carolina SEC argument down the stretch there on who to get in. So he's done a great job. Keep beating Clemson. I don't think he's under any pressure, but I guess the only pressure would be to maintain and not drop back to, some kind of 5-win season. Have a good season, potentially do really well. The schedule's doable, and good job by Shane Beamer in South Carolina. Got everything kind of going. Cock Commanders are rolling a little bit.
There you go. I would also say South Carolina might lead the league in hate your coordinator ratings. Like when
historically
they get mad at their coordinators there. They heap a lot of blame on them. Maybe because it was easier to do that than to blame like Steve Spurrier or Lou Holtz for something. But
Spurrier was winning 11, man. He was rolling there. Tennessee, Josh Heupel. We're getting into we're getting into some tranquility here. The tranquility section of the SEC hot rankings, I think. Let's see, Pat.
Yeah, I mean, I would say 3, 4. Not high because, Heupel's done great. He really has. And they got him into the playoff last year. Now they completely flopped when they got there, but that might have been just that they ran into a juggernaut that was waking up in Ohio State. But that was a bad performance. But, they've been really relevant 2 of the last 3 years on the national scene. They've had some great, great wins. They've torn down goalposts. They've incurred major SEC fines, etc. So I think the fans are very happy with Josh Heupel. Now, along with that will also come expectations for this year. Nico Iamaleava is back again at quarterback, and I think the feeling is that the program is ready to keep rising, and it's hard to rise too much further than making the playoff, but Tennessee wants to win national titles. So we'll see where they can finish in the hierarchy in the league. But, for the most part, I think people will tell you they're damn pleased with Coach Hype.
Yeah, very much. And Josh Heupel compared to, like we just talked about, Lane Kiffin, right, is like the opposite person in so many ways. He stays out of the media in the limelight and purposely goes out of his way to say nothing really interesting at all. But what he does and what he's done on the field has been pretty dang good. They snapped that streak against Alabama. I was there at that game. It was wild. All that week, it was incredible. In 2022, can't remember how many times they lost to him, 16 or 18 times in a row. And they snapped the streak there, and then they got into the playoff for the first time this past year. And you do wonder in 2022 if that team that finished the regular season at 10-2, if there was a 12-team playoff, how good maybe they would have fared in that 2022 playoff. But yeah, it's been pretty awesome. He's just got Rocky Top kind of back. There's just a buzz there about football that hasn't been there in a long time. And when you go there, you can't help but kind of feel it and hear it. And he's got an administration too, and Danny White is AD, and Donde Plowman, the chancellor, and the school president as well. And they just all seem to be in lockstep with how important football is. And so I'd give it a 4 maybe. There's always pressure at Tennessee, obviously, but he's done a great job there.
Man, I put it at a 2. I guess there's always pressure at Tennessee, but 30 wins in the last 3 years. This is as good as it's gotten since Fulmer's heyday. You wandered through the desert for two decades. It's popping. Recruiting's great. It's exciting. The team's exciting. If they had a different seeding process in the playoff, they get a home game and they don't have to face Ohio State the first week. They maybe make a little run. He's 16-8 in SEC play the last 3 years. They're going head. They got kids in the pipeline. They had a great quarterback coming. They are lined up for a long time. And Heupel just seems like you said, not a lot of waves, doing his job, winning. The whole university's athletic department. They won when they won baseball. National title,
championship, mm-hmm.
Basketball's, I don't know, whatever, top 5 again.
Yeah, women's basketball's
back.
Mm-hmm.
The place is just absolutely everything is rolling at Tennessee right now, and Heupel has got football right there. Keep beating Alabama. That's never a bad idea. So I would think it's a 2. I guess I'd only give it a 1 if they had say, made a run in the playoff last year. But I'll tell you what, they're happy with their program when 30,000 people drive all the way to another team's stadium to buy tickets. That's how excited it is. So
yeah,
incredible momentum at Tennessee, and I don't see that slowing down. I think they've got their coach and they got their
remarkable.
AD.
Yeah, that was remarkable. I think Pat, you were there, huh? In Columbus.
Yes, I was. Yeah, no, it was one of the most wild. Yeah, you were there too. It was one of the wildest sights I've ever seen.
Yeah. You're not. That's a fan base that's behind you. That's a fan base that's behind you. So I'll give him a 2 because he didn't win that game. But other than that, this is as good as it's going. This is what. How many other athletic departments? What other athletic department out there is we don't want to be Tennessee right now.
Yeah, right. Mm-hmm. Good at swimming too. Good at men's and women's swimming.
There you go. They're good at.
You needed to know. Yeah.
I did not know. I'm sure they're good at a bunch of other Olympic sports and all of that too. It's just place is rolling, and he's part of it.
I should have mentioned too when I said the alignment and the administration and everything down from the president, chancellor, AD, coach. I should have thrown the collective in there too. They have one of the better ones, and actually they're kind of made to excel in this new rev share world because the collective is a marketing agency. It started Spire Sports as a marketing agency, and they'll probably will turn back into that in this new landscape where you have to find real deals in order to go and exceed the cap. So I think they're set up just as much as any other program in the country to excel in this new world.
Yeah. Speaking of excelling, Texas, Steve Sarkisian. Pat?
Okay, so I was thinking about this.
This is an interesting one.
Yeah, if Kiffin is always a 7, Texas is always an 8. And if your quarterback is Arch Manning, Texas might be a 9. I mean, that's to the point that you stated earlier. He ain't getting fired, but the expectation is Texas-sized right now. They're number 1 in the SI2 early top 25. And I think that people think that, okay, we have been there. We have knocked on the door. We've made the last 2 playoffs. Let's take the next step and let's do it now. So when those are the expectations, when you're walking into a season at Texas, ranked preseason number 1, 2, whatever they're going to be, then there's some pressure.
A 9. Pat, man, 25 wins the last 2 years, but I get it. It's pressure cooker there. God, he's lost 2 conference games in 2 years, 11 conference games or 5 conference games in the last 3 years. When you go back to second season, third, or that's not right, is it? Yeah, third season. I'll give it a 6 because I know the pressure's there, Arch. And I think a big part of this, too, is they made the playoffs the last 2 years and not won the championship, right? And not gotten to the championship game, either one, in the 4 team and in the 12 team. And I think that's part of this, too, is just like Ole Miss in Tennessee and some others that we've discussed, they poured a lot of money into the roster and haven't gotten the ring. And I think that's kind of hanging out there.
It's a good one. I'll go 7. Obviously, if it's a scale of chances of being fired, 1. But I agree. Right. 2 straight Final Fours, Arch Manning, everything rolling. We better win. This is what Texas expects. Maybe it should be even higher. I don't know. But in terms of like how the program is doing, can't really do any better. Not sure. I don't know anyone who would trade or would look and go, yeah, I wouldn't trade with Texas. Maybe Ohio State. Obviously, it's got the title, but place is absolutely popping. Sark's proven to do a very good job in this kind of second act of his. There's a little bit of like, why'd they hire Steve Sarkisian? Well, it's working. He seems to be a guy. Not only is he coaching well, recruiting well, beyond well. He's recruiting and coaching extremely, extremely well. But he seems to be able to exist quite comfortably and almost happily in that pressure cooker of expectations and fiefdoms and everything that comes with Texas football. So I'll give it a 7 because he needs the pressure, but he's doing a great job. A&M, Mike Elko. Pat?
Interesting one. I'm going to say, he's not getting fired in year 2, but I gotta say it's a 6 because your Texas is rocking and you were brought in to do better than Jimbo Fisher, and you did. They had a good year last year, I thought. They were in the playoff mix in the SEC championship game mix till the end, till they lost to Texas. So I thought he did very well there, but that is a place we know what they've spent in terms of NIL. We know what the commitment there is in general. There's no such thing as something that's too expensive for Texas A&M to go after. They did pay $78 million to make Jimbo Fisher go away. So it's one of those places. I don't think it could be lower than 6, and so I'll start there, and I'll keep it there. But I think the Texas prominence also weighs a little bit on the scale.
Yeah, you know, at a place like that, especially like Pat said, with Texas doing what it's doing and how much money they pay for a lot of things there, it feels like this can't be below a 5 or 6. I'll give it a 5, but you know, they were rolling obviously last year. At one point, I think they were 7-1, maybe. They just had that loss to Notre Dame, and they lost 4 of their final 5 games. Lost in overtime to Auburn. Got bludgeoned at South Carolina, and then of course the Texas loss where they scored 7 points, and then they lost their bowl to USC, despite leading I think late and kind of blowing that one. So it didn't end well. 3 straight losses to end the year. I think puts you in a tough spot for your second season, but it is just year 2. And you would think, given the athlete revenue sharing coming, that you know, no coach would be fired and a buyout would be paid after a year 2. I will say, I think A&M is like several others, is pretty set up to excel in this new world, where money is so important because they have so much of it, which just puts the pressure more right on Mike Elko and any coach that coaches there.
Man, if they fired him, I mean, you got to let him cook a little. That would be, you know, it would have to be a total disaster. I got a 4. I think the first year was good. You saw all the potential of what he's going to be able to do, and I put it at 4 because Texas is so good. But I also think there's a little bit of Texas is so good. Obviously, you got to play him, and you got to play him in Austin. But I would say you don't have to match Texas this year. You might have to. I mean, they're going to want to beat them. But next year, like I think you know, the real judgment comes in year 3. I just think he's done an excellent job. Schedule's very interesting. Notre Dame, Florida, LSU, South Carolina, Texas. He's got, you know, so I think it's a 4. I think Mike Elko's done a terrific job, and if he can have another good season, but then he's got to get primed for year 3. You can't sit and take a back seat for Texas for too long, but any reasonable person at A&M would say, okay, look, Texas is Texas this year. This guy's in his second season. Let's deal with it.
Reasonable.
There's some.
Dan, this is the SEC. There's no reason.
A&M's particularly
the SEC,
unreasonable.
and they paid a $78 million buyout to a coach.
There's
well,
no
you know what?
reason.
If you fire Mike Elko or make it a big negative, I know if you make a big negative season out of this, that's why you're not winning, because it becomes you can't just you know, you're not the Kansas City Chiefs. I mean, you gotta just be like, look, if it becomes negative, that's why you never win, because you got a good coach and you got some momentum. There's a lot of good things happening. You're just not probably going to win the national title this year. Oh, well, like when did you win the national title? Vanderbilt, Clark Lee. Interesting one. Patrick?
Here's my I will end on my easiest, lowest scale number. 1. It's a 1 for Clark Lee.
Wow.
I got to be thrilled. You kidding me? They beat Alabama. They beat Auburn. Now, okay, yes, you bring back Diego Pavia, your quarterback, so maybe people are thinking, hey, let's get better. But 7-6 at Vanderbilt? Build a damn statue, except I think they probably prefer statues of professors and stuff there. So, no, I mean, Clark Lee should own Nashville for the next 2 or 3 years before they turn around and start getting mad at him again. So I'd give him a 1.
Yeah, I'll say a 2, which is the biggest swing from 1 year hot seat ranking to the next, because he was probably a 10 entering last season. It felt like he was one of the very few coaches that was really like, you know, on the hot seat, on the cusp of getting fired, and he's turned it around incredibly well. I don't know that anybody's gone from like a 10 to a 2. I'm sure it's happened, but it's that's what a 7-6 year with a win over Alabama and an all-star quarterback will do in Nashville.
I mean, his first 3 years were 2 wins, 5 wins, 2 wins. So he gets to 7-6, wins the Birmingham Bowl. Obviously, they beat Alabama. I don't expect them to take a step back. I think they'll be good and be able to get into that at least 6-win type deal, looking at the schedule. But I wouldn't give it a 1. I'd give it maybe a 4 or 5. If he wins 2 games.
5 at Vanderbilt?
4. He had 1 good season. You have a bad season, and now there's some expectations. You got Diego.
There's a lot of coaches that have no good seasons at Vanderbilt. He's had one more than many of them.
Derek Mason had some 6-win seasons, 5, 6.
Derek Mason, well, no.
Then he went 0.
I mean, like,
man, Pat is so nice today.
I know, right?
All I'm saying is don't win 2 games. I don't think they will, but, there's some pressure. People have some expectations over Vanderbilt football this year. At Virginia Tech, at South Carolina. They start with Charleston Southern, at Virginia Tech, at South Carolina. They get Georgia State, Utah State, at Bama, LSU, Missouri, at Texas, Auburn, Kentucky, at Tennessee. Man, it's a big ditch to dig right there. It's a big ditch to dig. All right, that's
Derek Mason. Derek Mason got 7 years without having a winning season.
I didn't say he's going to get fired. I'm just saying they're going to be grumbling something fierce if all of a sudden you have a bad season. 7-6 with a Birmingham Bowl victory. I look at. I'm all for Clark Lee. I agree. Keep him. Firing coaches these days is not. It's not. Just when you're churning through coaches, you're just not always getting anywhere. This guy's a good coach. He's going to be fine. I'm just saying. You're just too nice. You're just too nice.
It. Last episode, I was too mean.
Too mean. Now you're too. We'll be back after this. All right, we have a little kerfuffle here between Nebraska and Tennessee. Nebraska has opted out of a contract where the Tennessee and Nebraska are going to play a home and home in 2026 and 2027. It's 2025. Not a lot of time left. Nebraska canceled the contract, and instead replaced them with Bowling Green and Miami, Ohio. And the reason is Nebraska Athletic Director Troy Dannon said, "We are making plans to embark on major renovations of Memorial Stadium that may impact our seating capacity for the 2027 season. The best scenario for us is to have 8 home games in 2027 to offset any potential revenue loss from reduced capacity." And then he says the additional home games will also have tremendous economic benefit to the Lincoln community. So they are canceling this series so they don't have to go on the road in 2027 and only have 7 games. Tennessee AD Danny White is very disappointed, and considering how we don't know how playoffs and all this stuff are going to be sorted out, I can see why they do not have now a name opponent in 2026 and 2027, and it's not going to be that easy to find one at this late date. It was a kind of cool, fun little series, 90s nostalgia series. Good series for both teams, it seemed, but extra home date. Pat, which side you on?
Rocky Top, orange here. I don't like it. It's easy, maybe, substantive, but I think it's a little bit easy to just say, well, we got to worry about the money here. I mean, the ADs do have to worry about the money every day and the $20.5 million for the rev share and all that sort of thing. But the Big Ten is printing money. The college football playoff is printing more money for more schools. You've signed the deal with Tennessee. I think it would be a really fun series. And this is, as I think Danny White pointed out, it's a little late in the game to be bailing on that series. So I feel Danny White's aggrieved stance on this. I will say it's interesting. It's Kevin White's son. Kevin White, who's the AD at Arizona State, Notre Dame, and Duke. And Kevin White was kind of that, restrained statesman sort of AD. Danny's a little more feisty. He doesn't mind mixing it up on some things, and he's out there mixing it up on this one.
Yes, he is. Yeah, he often kind of just says how he feels. Danny White, which a lot of folks in college athletics don't. He's the Lane Kiffin of ADs, you might say. He stokes the fires on Twitter and all that stuff. So it's funny. This came up. I guess it might have been a week ago, like last Tuesday or so, when all the ADs, including those two, Danny White and Troy Dana, were in the same room in New Orleans at their joint meeting. And this exact series came up Tuesday night in conversations around the hotel. And I was having a conversation with Troy Dana about it. He was just telling me that they were going to announce this soon. And I think he was prepared for the backlash of it, which he was explaining to me while they were doing it, which they have explained. Thing is, Dan, if Tennessee can't find another Power 4 conference opponent, I don't know that it matters if the SEC gets 4 AQs into the playoff. I don't know that it really matters. But what's funny is, the SEC, one of the things they've been talking about is an SEC Big Ten sort of challenge scheduling agreement where they would play annually. Each school would play another school from the opposite conference every year. That seems like it's a little longer away than some of these other things, like the SEC playing 9 games or the AQ format starting in 2026. Like the scheduling agreement, full scheduling agreement, that seems maybe 2, 3, 4, 5 plus years away. But eventually, it probably is going to happen. And these schools could be matched up again. Maybe they'll just repit them in 2029 or something at the start of the scheduling agreement.
This is what I wonder. Yeah, you can redo it. I wonder how this will, they talk about the scheduling agreement, and this is how important 8 home games are. And I wonder how this is going to work for schools, and can we make it up? And certainly if you're Tennessee and they get this 4 thing, schedule another cupcake. Why risk injury? Why exert yourself? Take the victories. Non-conference isn't going to matter going into the future very much, unless it's a little bit for seeding. I'm all on Tennessee side. This is late in the game. I also am on at least some of the Nebraska fans. Some Nebraska fans won't care, and will go for whatever the program's going with. But your next 3 years, you got 2027, you got Northern Illinois, Miami, Ohio, and Northern Iowa as your opponents, non-con. And you have Oregon coming that year. Other than that, nothing very interesting. Iowa, Minnesota, Oregon, Purdue, and Rutgers is your home slate. That's your home slate. 22. I know they're filling up. The year before, 2026, you got Ohio, Bowling Green, North Dakota, Indiana, Maryland, Ohio State, Washington. That's your home schedule.
Yeah, so they've gone straight non-conference cupcake there.
Yeah, and the Big Ten doesn't really provide. Okay, you get the Buckeyes, but you're getting 1 game home slates, and everything else is just blah, right? Okay, we'll see how these teams are, but it doesn't really excite. So I know they'll fill it up. It won't matter, but I hate seeing these games get canceled, especially when you've done a good home and home. All right, we'll be back right after this. All right, People's Court here. We got a lawsuit. We got a number of lawsuits. This involves a young man named Dennis Aborka. This is from the Detroit Free Press. Dennis Aborka, in the spring of 2020, was taking a chemistry class at the University of Michigan Flint campus. He didn't like the grade he got, and he did something many a student has probably pondered. He filed a lawsuit. He claimed the school violated his, quote, right to education when it, quote, neglected to award a grade of an A. And he asked a Washtenaw County Circuit Court to order the school to change his grade. Okay. He has also, in other times, seeks a better a grade or a pass-fail option or the chance to drop the class afterwards that he struggled at schools including Mott Community College, which is in Michigan, Lansing Community College, which is in Michigan, Wayne State College, which is in Nebraska, and the University of Texas Rio Grande. This guy gets he talk about the portal.
Wow.
Portal king.
Michigan, Flint, and University of Texas Rio Grande on the same
I don't know
resume.
what he was doing. He files a suit saying that he should get an A. Basically, they should have taught him better or whatever. The lawsuit was denied. Ross, do you think students should be able to sue if they don't get the grade they wanted? This is some good
Dan. Dan, no. What the F is going on? We're a litigious society, but this is like, and I understand some of the litigiousness, if that's a word. But this is ridiculous, Dan. No. You can't sue to change your grade. And you shouldn't be able to throw it out. The case dismissed, Dan.
Well, I will say this. What would we do without these lawsuits on the pot? So we need them, for complete lunacy people's courts. That's for sure. No, if I were the presiding judge, Mr. Igorka or whatever his name is, wouldn't last very long. I mean, the grade inflation trend in America has been long established, long lamented. You don't need to hear me adding to it, but everybody feels like they need an A or like their child needs an A because look how hard they worked on this project. I can't believe you gave them a B. So we've been dealing with that for a long time, but I'm going to guess that the graders at University of Michigan Flint and some of the other locations where this man went to school probably were not the most ruthless graders of all time. So I think that he's excessively complaining. Case dismissed, throw him out, and tell him to never come back to court.
Yeah, he seeks money back. I mean, he seeks everything here. I've read the one versus Wayne State right now, Wayne State College in Nebraska. Now, there's a Wayne State in Michigan. I don't know if he got confused and joined the wrong school. I don't
imagine packing up your belongings and showing up at the campus in Nebraska. Oh, wait, I'm enrolled in Michigan. Oh, this might be a bad idea.
He
or
said
the other way around.
Wayne State violated his, quote, right to freedom of education when the Wayne State neglected to award him a grade of C+, as clearly stated in the syllabus, and neglected to convert his grade to the grade stated in the requirement plaintiff rightfully satisfied. He's claiming he needed to get a grade adjustment to overall of a 77.5, which is a C according to the instructor. So he's arguing that he deserved a C+ in that one, not a C.
He's suing for a C+. Come on, man. Set your sights a little higher.
He never hired a lawyer. He did all this himself. It's definitely not pre-law. He's lost every suit and appeal.
Shocking.
I'm still. I like the gumption. Maybe spend more time studying in the first place than filing all these lawsuits.
If you can't squeeze a C+ out of Wayne State on your own merits, I'm a little concerned.
I mean, it takes a while. It's not easy to file a lawsuit.
No.
It's not like leaving a Yelp review. You got to fill out the stuff. I mean, even if you're going to lose, you got to send in the proper formatting and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, he said he should have gotten an A in biology at Lansing Community College. I don't know. Anyway, the Detroit Free Press. Well, here's the U of M. Flint said the plaintiff simply ignored the plethora of law set forth in defendant's motion for summary deposition. He filed a meaningless response. Yeah, he's got nothing. Anyway, the Free Press tried to call him, and he said, "Don't write a story." He hung up on him. That's not.
They did
And
not agree to his wishes there. Good.
yeah. He also the schools yeah, so like in 2023 filed one against Mott Community College, asking the court to allow him to withdraw from a math 120 class he took. The professor gave him a 1.5 grade point average based on, this is incredible reasons to give him the 1.5, his homework, tests, and final exam.
Wow.
Yeah.
Just making stuff up out
Yeah.
of whole cloth. Yeah.
And all the schools have said you do have a way to contest a grade through proper channels, but you can't just sue us and say, give us an A. So it's quite a world out there, Pat. Quite a world out there.
I tell you, again, we need the idiotic lawsuits for the pod. I don't know where the legal system needs them, but we need them. So
5 schools.
I mean, at least now, you know what? I would, create some software flag for your university where if he enrolls, you just don't even accept him.
Dennis
that dude's
Aborka.
eventually going to sue you. Yeah.
College isn't for everybody.
No.
The world needs ditch diggers too, Danny. Right in the lumberyard. All right. We'll be back on Wednesday. Our 700th episode is Wednesday. You know that, Pat?
Whoa.
700. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
So we'll have to make something up. We'll think about it. We'll put our heads to it. Now there'll be some playoff talk, I think. We will discuss it then. Talk to you later.